So I think I said last week that we were doing a lighter video today, but I had to move some things around in my schedule, so we're actually doing fake disorder cringe, which I suppose still is significantly lighter than last week's Elon video. Apparently the bar for what's considered light content on my channel, it's always moving, it's lowering, okay. So fake disorder cringe, come and cringe at the people faking disorders for attention and clout, is a place where Redditors call out people they believe are faking disorders, mental health conditions, except they're not medical professionals, so they are often, maybe most of the time, wrong. And of course, if they were medical professionals, no self-respecting diagnostician would diagnose or undiagnose somebody based on their social media content. But this happens to be an extra special episode of Fake Disorder Cringe. Is that a thing? Can that be a thing? Can we have an extra special episode of Fake Disorder Cringe? I don't know. But if it can, this one is, because later on in this video, I am going to respond to them talking about me. I've made it a few months ago. I finally made it, everyone. Dreams do come true. But first of all, let's talk about a few other posts. The first one may also be a familiar face to you. This is popular TikToker Saran Wrap. I've seen her very pretty face numerous times when I've been scrolling the TikToks. She's got over 300k followers, and clearly she's built that following by faking, by not being relatable at all. Sarcasm, obviously. Now, Sarah has been posted on Fake Disorder Cringe on at least 3 separate occasions. First of all, somebody shared this. It says "stim with me," and they've used this mocking little emoji. And it's a TikTok in which Sarah flaps her hands. Well, she kind of like shakes her wrists and rocks on her bed. It looks super relaxing.
Thank you for joining me. Bye.
Aww. And she's included the words "stim with me" on screen. People who are not knowledgeable about autism, footage of autistic adult stimming, it's never really a good mix, is it? I have plenty of evidence of that elsewhere on my channel. Now, it makes me particularly sad that this has been posted as evidence of faking when Sarah has clearly made this video as an invitation for other autistic people to join her. For many of us who were diagnosed later in life, I was diagnosed in my mid-20s, we maybe used to stim as a child, and then we might have been told off, told not to, maybe by teachers, maybe by other students, maybe by our own parents, or we just observe other people and notice that the people around us don't really do that. If we want to fit in, we should probably stop. And sadly, for autistic people who were diagnosed younger, they may have been put through some sort of therapy that discouraged stimming, that saw it as a disordered, repetitive behavior. They may have been taught to have quiet hands. For me personally, prior to going to school, I flapped my hands constantly. And then I was laughed at for flapping a book, and so I suppressed my stims in public. In fact, it got to the point where I felt very uncomfortable and awkward moving at all through my school years. I tried to stay still as much as possible. Indeed, participants commonly responded to the negative attention their stims attracted by suppressing stimming behaviors, transmuting them into a more socially acceptable form that provided similar feedback, or concealing them away from others' view. So instead of flapping my hands and doing like big full body movements, I started pinching my neck, which is why the skin is discolored, was nowhere near as effective and fun as flapping my hands. So isn't it lovely? And at the very least, completely harmless that Saran Wrap wants to encourage other autistic people to stim, to help each other out, to practice a little bit. We might need to practice, and that's okay. Stimming is noted by the National Autistic Society in the UK as being something autistic people can do to improve their well-being and their mental health. It's important. Let's have a look at the comments on this post and see what Fake Disorder Cringe are cringing about. So the top comment has almost 1,000 likes here. This is so forced. Oh my god. ... I mean, personally, I don't have any notes for this stimming session. It looks lovely. It does seem to be a common misconception on there that stimming is impossible to do voluntarily. And I think some people do find it very difficult to control their stims. I mean, I can't stop myself from pinching my neck. I've been clenching my teeth at night at the moment. My jaw is killing me. I can't stop myself from doing that. And stimming is just a very natural movement. I often start doing it subconsciously, but personally, I can initiate stimming if I want to. And as I say, some of us may have to consciously push past years of suppressing our stims. And who cares if this was forced for a TikTok? Who cares? I think it would be fair to say I have stimmed every single day of my whole entire life by flapping my hands. I stopped doing it in public. I never stopped doing it in private. And my stimming looks really weird. There's a lot of movements that probably seem very unnatural to most people. When I have shared footage of me stimming as an adult, people have ripped into me for it. But I would, and I do, really struggle with stimming in front of people. And also that extends to stimming on camera as well. I don't think Sarah does look uncomfortable here. I think she's fine. But I think if I was doing what Sarah is doing here, I might look a little bit awkward and unsure and uncomfortable because it is so ingrained in me that this is not something we do in front of other people if we want to be seen as a normal human person. And that is how so many autistic people feel. So it is so brave that Sarah recorded this to post on TikTok to try and help other autistic people, and maybe also to get over some of her own internalized stuff. A lot of us have internalized stuff, you know? Maybe it seems silly to other people because it's just flapping your hands, whatever. There is so much shame around that for so many autistic people. When I was made fun of for reading my book strangely, my heart dropped. I felt sick to my stomach, like I had done something terribly, terribly wrong. I felt deep shame. And so yes, posting something like this on TikTok, which doesn't always feel like the safest platform, that would be really deeply scary to me. She just looks like she's waiting for it to be over, like she's bored doing it. Does this look bored to you? Does this look bored? Like maybe I'm not the best with facial expressions because I'm autistic, but I don't actually think I'm that bad with facial expressions. This is a smile. It's a smile. But honestly, I don't know what faces I do when I stim. It's not something I've really thought about. I obviously don't see myself when I'm stimming. I tend to pretty much zone out. So for me, hand flapping causes me to have a very heightened attention and the world around me kind of disappears and I become very sort of engrossed in my internal world and my own thoughts. This is something that Temple Grandin, who's a very famous autistic woman, has described in the past, not just me making shit up. It's so immersive. Do I look kind of blank and zoned out? I wouldn't be surprised. Do I look bored? I don't know. I'm certainly not bored when I'm stimming. I don't know what I look like. I kind of mutter to myself, I think maybe sometimes, like kind of whisper under my breath. I don't know what I do. And as I say, it's hard for me to film it as an adult when I'm aware that I'm being filmed or being watched. It probably wouldn't be a true recreation of how I actually stim when I'm fully alone. So like maybe this isn't how Sarah would stim naturally, but she still wants to encourage other autistic people to stim with her. And as I say, there's nothing wrong with how she's stimming here anyway. I don't know, are people just associating like any sort of fidgeting with impatience or boredom? Because that is a time when many people, including neurotypical people, will stim, you know, like kind of tapping your fingers or something because you're waiting for something to happen. Does it maybe make her look a bit impatient? I don't know. It's always the quirky, flappy hands and never the less cute stims like punching or tapping the head, skin picking, hair pulling, or nail/finger biting. Sarah literally has another TikTok in which she is very brave and explains how she experiences meltdowns.
Meltdowns happen at the most random moments. I get frozen and I can't speak anymore, and it's just, I'm a head hitter, and it's so hard to like not do it.
And what exactly do you want from Sarah here in this situation? Do you want her to come out with a video in which she encourages other autistic people to perform dangerous stims? Let's essentially harm ourselves together? Is that the content that Fake Disorder Cringe would like to see? Would that be a good enough example of disordered autism for you? I hear this a lot, sometimes even from autistic people, like we shouldn't say stim freely because some stims can be harmful. Like yes, like I don't think anybody who says stim freely and things like that is saying hurt yourself freely. I have a pretty in-depth video about stimming. I touch on dangerous stims there. It's important, obviously, but I don't think the fact that some stims can be less desirable or can be harmful, which is a fact, I don't think that means that we should never stim. I think it means that we should prioritize doing safe, harmless stims like this. Like what if somebody is able to regulate by doing this, by allowing themselves to stim and get over that stigma, and that prevents them from having a meltdown and maybe repeatedly banging their head or doing something that harms them instead later on in the day. And also I think it's important to note that no autistic TikToker owes you footage of themselves at their lowest if they do not want to share that online. Sarah was shared again for the same thing in another post. Look at how beautiful her hair is. I can't get over it. She seems to be unnaturally forcing herself to stim. In addition, she appears to be self-diagnosed and encourages others to do so too, based on stereotypical traits of autism. What, you mean like flapping your hands? Like, do you not think about why hand flapping is a stereotype of autism? Because of autistic people, because some autistic people do like to flap their hands. It's offensive if somebody mocks an autistic person by flapping their hands, but this isn't what's going on here, because this is an actual autistic person, and this is unfortunately where the misunderstandings happen on Fake Disorder Cringe. They go in very cynically, and anybody who doesn't fit a certain stereotype, they assume is pretending online. Can I just ask you why this is a problem as well? Human person encourages another human person to move their bodies. I'm quite fine with people who are not even autistic flapping their hands as an autistic person, as long as it's not in a mocking way. If it feels good for them as well, then go ahead. I don't think it usually does. I don't think non-autistic people really get that same urge to flap their hands. Maybe some ADHDers do, I don't know. Go for it. Who knows? And like half of autistic people in the UK might be undiagnosed, so you might just be autistic. So like, just let the people stim. I just don't see what's wrong with it. It's a harmless movement of your own body, which you are free to move. I know many of us didn't feel free to move as children and even now in adulthood, but we actually are. Obviously, for some people, there can be fears of it being mistaken for aggression and things like that. So yes, not all of us do feel safe to move, but most certainly in the comfort of your own home, watching a TikTok from Saran Wrap, you are free to flap your hands. As long as you're not encouraging someone to stim in the way Elon did in my last video, then go right ahead, you're fine. No, I just can't have them criticizing this. It's such a lovely video, lip liner on point, while we stim. Love it. I need to get some lip liner and learn how to do it properly. That's what I feel called to do now. Someone commented, I don't even know I'm stimming most of the time, and it is more like a nervous energy. Sure, but it can be done consciously. I think what she is describing is masturbation. What a leap there! Like, what are you doing with your stim toys, sir? I mean, again, bodily autonomy, go ahead, but that wasn't what was happening here. Really do wish these self-diagnosed people would stop inviting people to try autism. Stimming is not trying autism. Anybody can move their body how they want to. 'Tis fine. Doesn't bother me. Always be skeptical when Fake Disorder Cringe accuse somebody of being self-diagnosed. Sarah has 1 million views on this video, which is pinned to her TikTok page. It has been there since 2022, I think. It's been there for years. And she explains her diagnosis story and how she was initially misdiagnosed and then eventually correctly diagnosed. And she only suspected that she might be autistic because it was suggested by a partner.
This is the story of how I found out that I was autistic. So when I was 18, I got my first boyfriend, and he used to make a lot of autism jokes about me, and I didn't even question it. After an entire year, I finally asked him if he really thought I was autistic. He was like, it's pretty obvious. Absolutely ruthless.
I wonder if he was autistic or like had an autistic family member or what that was. That's funny.
Anyways, I started to hyperfixate on it and do a bunch of research. I asked my mom and she was like, I always knew something was wrong with you, but I wouldn't say it's as extreme as autism.
Yeah, when I told my mom, she was like, yeah, I expected her to push back. She was like, I think that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Went to my primary care doctor first, and he immediately shut me down. He told me I was being disrespectful because his 2-year-old son was autistic and I was nothing like him. I'm nothing like your son? No way! So at this point I was convinced I was autistic, and at the peak of COVID I found someone to do my evaluation. It was an old white man over Zoom. I got misdiagnosed so badly. Instead of autism, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, bipolar 1, and schizotypal personality traits. So I asked him, why not autism? He said I made really great eye contact with the camera, and I quote, you're just a really smart girl that doesn't know how to function like a normal human being. I will literally never forget that. After this, I was like, okay, I guess I'm not autistic. Yay, time for bipolar medication. Later that year, I needed therapy, so I got set up with one of my university counselors who happened to be an autistic woman finishing up her PhD. After a while with her, I got diagnosed through my university. So I did get diagnosed behind my mom's back, but when I finally explained my diagnosis to her, a lot of things clicked. And at age 60, she's a self-diagnosed autistic. Getting an autism diagnosis is very difficult, especially if you're a woman or person of color. Most autism research is based off of white boys. So if you're getting an evaluation done, don't just walk in. Do your research, bring notes, and be prepared to defend yourself. Remember that not everybody has the ability to get a diagnosis. So be nice.
Yeah, be nice. Good advice. If you really care about standing up for autistic people, which some people act like they do on this subreddit, please stop enforcing stereotypes by implying that anybody who doesn't look like what you think an autistic person should look like is not autistic. And do like 1 second of research into that person and watch a tiny bit of their content before you do. And the final post is criticizing her for being cute, which, she can't help that. Trying to make autism seem all cute and quirky, and seriously, what's with listing your disorders in quotation marks in your bio? All of them do that, list their disorders in their bio. I find that incredibly strange. I've spent my life being mortified of my problems, and I do everything I can to appear as high functioning as possible. If I happen to mention something in passing online, I always go back and delete it. I do my damnedest to keep things quiet in my real life. I think that's really sad. I think a lot of people feel like that, and I don't think it's good. I think maybe younger generations are moving past that attitude a bit. When I look at my older relatives, I feel so sad. Like, they kept so much to themselves. They felt like they could never complain. And like that attitude was passed on to me a little bit as well. And I was like floored, shocked the first time I had like a therapy session and I was told that when bad things happen to me, I'm allowed to be sad about it. What is this? What is this witchcraft? I don't just have to pull myself together. I can feel things. I don't at all understand this attention seeking and need to put your diagnoses out there for the world and future employers and partners to see. Who wants to hire or date someone with a laundry list of problematic brackets likely untreated, I don't know why you'd make that assumption, mental health issues that make them impossible to be around? I mean, nobody said that. You said that. If they were real, that is. And that has nearly 200 thumbs up. I mean, do you want to live in an ableist society like that? Do you think that that's good? It sounds like you think this is the way things should be, or are you just kind of resigned to the way things are? Maybe some people aren't so resigned to the way things are. Maybe we're a little bit hopeful. Daring, I know. Even if you do sincerely believe that people like Saran and me were faking for attention, just count us out completely. But surely you believe there are truly disabled people out there somewhere in the world, people who do meet whatever your criteria is to be genuinely disabled or genuinely autistic or whatever. Should those people have to always keep it to themselves? Always try and overcome? Never ask for help? Should they be hiding it from their future partners? I don't know. Maybe some people want to whack it in the bio so they can weed out partners who are not going to be kind and willing to understand. It's so wild to me how they list all their disorders on their profile as some sort of badge. I mean, you're the one who said it was some sort of badge. It's just a bio. I can't believe it's become trendy to list all your mental health disorders in such public places. Like, hello, I'm a vulnerable human being. I have 8 debilitating disorders, and here's a list of all the triggers that could send me spiraling into a panic attack, and also my pronouns are she, her. So many people would benefit from a basic primary school internet safety lesson. Yes, don't reveal that your pronouns are she, her. Internet safety. Never give anybody any information about yourself ever. It's kind of like the joke of like how vegans will always tell everybody that they're vegan or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, people need to know because food comes up quite a lot in life. If you spend any amount of time with somebody, you're probably going to eat a meal in front of them, or they might offer you something to eat. Like, it comes up a lot. So many people would benefit from a basic primary school internet safety lesson. I mean, infantilizing much? We're not in primary school. As an autistic adult, you are welcome to disclose or not disclose your diagnosis at any time. And if you personally think it's cringe to do so in your bio, then don't do it. That's fine. Why might somebody want to do this? Maybe to try and connect with other people who have the same diagnosis, who will get it, build some sort of community online. That's one of the wonderful things about the internet. It can be so valuable for people to have community. Autistic people can be incredibly lonely sometimes. It can be really difficult to maintain friendships. Also, if you're a creator, you may want to signal that you're making advocacy and lived experience content about these specific conditions. It could be about advocating for yourself. It also could be about making a statement, kind of trying to reduce stigma, make other people feel like they can be open about their identity too. What's in Sarah's bio? 24, autistic, ADHD, depression, PTSD, anxiety, OCD. I mean, all of these things frequently occur together. I can see why it might seem like a long list, but as somebody in the community, it makes sense. There's a lot of crossover between these things as well. I mean, it's normal for somebody who has a neurodevelopmental condition like being autistic. It's normal to fit numerous labels, particularly, I mean, ADHD, all of them basically. All of those things frequently go along with autism, and if you want to have a look at the research, you will find that to be true. Of course, I will link Sarah and Rap down below if you would like to follow, if you would like to stim with her. Maybe one day an autistic woman can stim in peace, but I am yet, unfortunately, yet to see it. Okay, let's move on. Another post. The caption read on this TikTok, apparently, "Is it the autism?" and had a bunch of hashtags for autism. No, it's not the autism, says the person who posted this on Fake Disorder Cringe. So it says regular people, and it shows them they're reading a bottle, and the bottle says shake well before use. Then it shows them shaking it gently, and then they compare it to themselves. It says me, and then they start shaking it super vigorously. I do think a lot of people will relate to that, even people who are not autistic. It's just, it's a funny TikTok. It's a funny, silly TikTok. It's not that deep. Like, who would have thought it? Sometimes autistic people are funny. Sometimes they do funny stuff, and that funny stuff might even be relatable to people who are not autistic. Shock, horror. This person, and you forgot to censor the name, by the way, you're supposed to do that, I think, is making a fun, self-deprecating TikTok of them shaking a bottle. And they're either referring to the fact that autistic people tend to take instructions literally, so might be more concerned about, following exactly. So it says shake well, I'm gonna shake well, emphasis on the well, or it might be a stimming thing, like they kind of get carried away because it feels nice, but of course stimming has to be involuntary. If you shake the bottle voluntarily, it's not stimming. It looks like they're having fun. Let them have it, I don't know. Being goofy when shaking something that says shake well before use is practically a rule. That's not outside the norm by any means. I mean, autistic people are part of the norm. Quite a lot of people are autistic, and you can relate to autistic people, it's fine. No, it's definitely autism/S. I mean, they never said this was part of the diagnostic criteria. It literally says on screen, me, and shows what they do. It doesn't say all autistic people will do this, and they were asking jokingly, is it the autism? As in, like, could the fact that I'm autistic make me be more likely to do this? I would say yes. Yes, it could, for the reasons I explained earlier. It's probably the hair dye leaching into her scalp. I think they've misgendered this person there. I mean, here we go. Personal insults again. Why are people so offended by hair dye these days? It's become like a taboo to dye your hair. What a confused, lost person. It's sad to see someone so desperate for attention and validation. They shook a bottle and they looked quite happy while doing so. Like, what a leap. Okay, finally, it's me. It's me. So this was shared on my Discord a while back now. Oh my god, it's Meg's channel. Made it onto Fake Disorder Cringe. I feel nervous. Why do I feel nervous? I don't know if this is the only time it's happened, but basically in the past, sometimes my videos about Fake Disorder Cringe are shared on Fake Disorder Cringe, usually in quite a positive, quite a nice kind of way, or not like a super hateful way, just to like, we were mentioned on this channel kind of way. I mean, I probably wouldn't recommend doing so. I mean, it's a public video. You can do whatever you want, but I don't really make this content with the idea that I'm going to change anybody's mind over there. It would be cool if it did, but I just kind of do it more as like a way to talk about common misconceptions and misinformation about autism. And it's also just a bit of entertainment. Some of the comments that are left and some of the misunderstandings are quite goofy. So maybe we can, have a little bit of a laugh. But anyway, I was shared there. And honestly, I think it could have been worse. It could have been better too. It did get a little bit personal. So let's fact check some Fake Disorder Cringe misinformation about me. So I think somebody just posted my video and basically said, like, why do people hate this subreddit so much? Just like kind of genuinely asking. I suppose because probably a lot of the comments on my video were quite negative about Fake Disorder Cringe. So then someone said, I was literally just watching her on YouTube, probably the same one, and I came to this sub looking for a post about her. This is so weird. I believe she hates on this sub because she feels attacked by it. The only reason she would feel attacked is if she falls into the category of people the posts refer to, i.e., a faker. Ba-da-da-da, plot twist. I respond to things I disagree with, not necessarily things I feel personally attacked by. I mean, in the post that I've responded to today, people on this subreddit are coming for a peer of mine for flapping her hands, something that I have done my whole life. It does feel a little bit personal. I do find the narrative that all autistic people, particularly autistic women who share about being autistic on social media, those people are all fakers. Like, that is frustrating. I don't think that's going to do much for me personally when I go out into the real world and I try and seek support for a diagnosis that I do have. It's not a helpful narrative to have out there, and it's not true. I care about the truth. She believes self-diagnosis is as legitimate as medical diagnosis. Now, I understand why saying self-diagnosis probably seems a bit jarring to people outside of the autistic community, but it's pretty easy to, find out why, using the internet, why so many autistic people are open to self-diagnosis. And I'll probably make a full video about it at some point. But yes, I'm absolutely not a fan of people who call everybody who is self-identified a faker. We have research that suggests that half of all autistic people in the UK are not diagnosed. There are a lot of misdiagnosed and undiagnosed autistic people. The demeanor on her channel is patronizing at best and preachy at worst. I mean, I understand what it's like to just find someone annoying. Sometimes someone's face or their voice just annoys you for no reason whatsoever, and it's irrational. Just don't watch my content, it's completely fine. But yeah, wouldn't be the first time an autistic person's been criticized for the way they communicate information. I think if someone's saying things that you disagree with, the delivery becomes kind of more irritating. If I was saying things that you agreed with, you'd probably be like, preach. Oh, you said I was preachy, never mind. I don't know. You'd probably be happier with what I was saying is what I mean. The most cringe part, I've been cringe on Fake Disorder Cringe, is that she almost always includes self-referential clips of her as a child to voiceovers explaining the diversities of the autism spectrum. Is that what I do? Every time I show a home video clip, it's always me talking about the diversities. I'm sure most people who watch my videos already understand this, but I share my home video because I have it. It's cool that it's there, that it exists. I actually got it converted so I could take it along to my diagnostic appointments, because obviously they have to look back to childhood and it's important for a neurodevelopmental condition. And I thought, well, hey, it could be helpful to other people. Some people might relate, not every person will. And I think I always try and make that clear in my videos. And the main reason is I have permission to do that. I can consent to putting my home video out on the internet. What do you want me to do? Like start sharing random footage of random children? I'm not a fan of people sharing children online, but I'm fine to share myself online. So I think that's kind of a way to get around that, because often the argument for, sharing clips of your autistic child hand flapping is, oh, it's for educational purposes, so people can identify autistic traits. And it's like, but that child can't consent to doing that. I can go, I don't give a shit. And I think a large part of why I share my stuff is I don't give a shit about embarrassing myself on the internet. But as you are somebody who is fake claiming autistic people on the internet, I don't think I'm the one who needs to learn about the diversity of the spectrum. Sorry if that sounds patronizing, but I don't know, this is a really cynical way to look at content about autism on the internet, and I don't appreciate it. But then this person responds to the fact that I am diagnosed with saying she admits she's self-diagnosed before seeking an evaluation from a doctor. Over on my Patreon, I have a podcast where I talk about my diagnosis story in full and what made me suspect I was autistic. I think often we self-identify. We realize that there is something going on in our own bodies. We all have our own internal experience, and therefore we go and see our GP, we ask for a referral, we try and get help. We have to advocate for ourselves. And as Saran was saying in that TikTok earlier, sometimes as autistic people who don't fit the stereotype, we really have to advocate for ourselves. I think this person's just going to try and find problems with me no matter what. She's unclear whether that assessment was from a psychiatrist. What do you think? I got some bootleg diagnosis. Yes, I was diagnosed by a team who were qualified to diagnose somebody as autistic. Don't panic. She doesn't advocate for seeking a second opinion. Fake Disorder Cringe is so against doctor shopping, apparently, until you have a diagnosis that they don't agree with. And then you must keep going until you don't have that diagnosis anymore. What? Why would I go for a second opinion when it fits me perfectly? She reinforces the idea to her audience that medical care is difficult to access, even though she lives in the UK where healthcare is free. The waitlist for diagnosis for autism and ADHD are just going up and up and up. Our NHS healthcare system is in a state. The difficulty that I have to get an appointment these days, yeah, it's free, but you can't always get it. That's the problem. I've watched that channel. She's a good study on how to be nice and toxic at the same time. I feel proud that I was called nice. I like that. That makes me happy because I do want to be kind. I think that's very important to me. I'm sorry that you think I'm toxic. I think that's just because you disagree with me. And this person talks about being more conservative with people who they consider fair game on Fake Disorder Cringe. Then somebody replied, they got 52 downvotes. Sometimes it feels like they just want to make fun of disabled people, but they aren't allowed to, so they justify it by saying it's about fakers, which is the point that I've made in my videos before. But then that comment has now been removed. You won't find it anymore. It was removed because they have a rule for no white knighting. So the mods came and took that one. You're not allowed to stick up for disabled people on this subreddit because that would get in the way of the cringing. And someone did say some people here probably do just hate mental disorders and just want to mock people under the cover of calling out fakers. That comment got nearly 200 thumbs up, which is good. I just think somebody genuinely going out of their way to manipulate people, fake a disorder on social media, surely that is very, very rare, and there are constantly posts on fake disorder cringe. Surely the risk of doing that, of making fun of someone with an actual disorder, does that not outweigh the benefits of cringing at people who are faking disorders? Ignore them, scroll past. Anyway, as I say, now I feel a bit embarrassed for making it all about me in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support me on Patreon, you also get to join my Discord server. If you do so, you're welcome to. I have a load of exclusive videos up on there, almost 20 now, and podcast episodes, outtakes. I always link it in my description. Have a look, check it out, see if it's something you might want to join, but no pressure to, no rush. It's not going anywhere. You can join at a later date and you'll still get access to all of that content. I'll link the Fake Disorder Cringe playlist, and I will see you in my next video very, very soon. If you still want to watch now that I'm an exposed faker. And then even if I am diagnosed, I'm not diagnosed twice, so that's not enough. They need to see the qualifications of the person who diagnosed me. You know what? They just don't think I look autistic. And that is it. And that is all it comes down to. And I'm sorry, you cannot tell that someone is autistic by looking at them, and that better exemplifies the problem with this subreddit. Anyway, bye!